Selamat sore, good afternoon. Welcome to another Bali COVID-19 update for September 29th, 2021, and it's almost October, and so that's going to be an important month. We'll talk about that coming up soon. But first, let's look at the numbers. Great news on the numbers today. So the 7-day average for new positive cases is down to 105, getting close to 100. And the 7-day average for deaths down to 10. So both moving downward, good. And all of Indonesia, 2,050 new cases. And take a look at this graphic. And there are 124 deaths. Now, there's a story here about being below 100 deaths for the first time since May. But as you know, on a daily basis, numbers go up and down. So 124 deaths, not good, but overall, things are looking good. Total individuals tested in Indonesia, 193,564. with a 1.06 positive rate, and the 7-day average was 1.28%. And what about Bali? Bali tested 38,852 individuals over the last week, and the achievement rate was 133%, and the 7-day positivity rate 2.22%. And what about vaccinations? Now this is an important number because this is going to come up in a story at the end, a segment at the end of this video. And we'll talk about the numbers. So the vaccination rate, 3,319,551, 74.3%. And second doses, 2,620,037, and that's 58.7% of the population. Okay, so let's remember those numbers, 74.3 and 58.7. Remember them. And yesterday, 32,722 additional doses. And what about the numbers for yesterday? 92 new cases. So that's 3 days in a row we are below 100. And recoveries, 265. Deaths, 6. And active cases in Bali, 1,259. So our numbers for yesterday down below average, and we're moving downwards on the numbers and upwards on vaccinations. So good news. Really good news on the numbers. Daily COVID death toll drops below 100 for first time since May 13th. And so Indonesia recorded the lowest daily COVID-19 death toll in half a year. This was 2 days ago. There were 86 coronavirus-related deaths in the past 24 hours. Wow, this is great news. So far, total death toll at the time of this article, which was 2 days ago, 141,467. That's a lot of deaths. However, the article cautions it's common to have figures typically lower during the weekends due to reduced testing, and we've talked about that many times. And according to this article, on September 26th, 86.5 million people have been vaccinated, and of that number, 48.5 are fully vaccinated. The plan in Indonesia is to vaccinate 208 million citizens to reach the so-called herd immunity. And so, good news, having these deaths down. Okay, it's nice to see these numbers dropping. The PeduliLindungi App is an important part of Indonesia's fight against COVID-19, and so it's going to be used, well, just to do about everything. But right now it's still being developed. Well, it's been developed, but it's still being, let's say, the bugs are being worked out of it. It doesn't always work. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I've used it once or twice just to play with, not to ever get into anything. So originally, the government mandated that the app would be a requirement for long-distance travel on planes or trains. But not everybody has a smartphone, not everybody has the PeduliLindungi app, and it doesn't always work. And so The government has announced that people who do not own a mobile phone only need to submit their identity card, their NIC, their NIK, as they book a flight or train ticket, and this would help authorities to reach the individual's COVID-19 status and vaccination certificate. According to the Health Ministry's Digital Transformation Office Chief, Sandiaga, the ticket integration has already been applied in airports, and the data will be validated as tickets are booked on railway transport as well. So you're just going to need your number, and in places that are not yet integrated into the app, people can manually access the mobile app to show their current status regarding COVID-19 to enter the location using the self-check feature. And I've done that before, so that seems to work. So that's some good news for people that have been having trouble using the app or can't access it or don't have a phone. You will be able to get on planes and trains without the PeduliLindungi App for the time being. So relax. And more on the PeduliLindungi App. Pak Luhut, the Coordinating Minister for Maritime Affairs and Investment, said that Indonesia has managed to work on digital payment instruments through QRIS, and so he wants to integrate this into the PeduliLindungi app so that people can pay for things using the app. He said the use of the app as a payment system is aimed at supporting digital financial inclusion in order to expand the market for local products. And he said it's necessary to show the world that Indonesia is capable of solving various problems with the latest initiatives. He said, let's show the world that Indonesia has changed, not the same country from 10 or 7 years ago. Indonesia is a powerful country that looks to a better tomorrow. And the PeduliLindungi app is the big thing that the government is. It's a new toy. They like this. It's going to be, well, they hope that it's going to be a showcase for Indonesia's developing digital technology and the way for us to keep track of everything and keep COVID-19 under control, and now to pay for things as well. So let's see how that works out. And other countries, as I talked about in the last video, the last two videos, are either getting away with the quarantine completely if you test negative and you arrive and you're fully vaxxed, and some have reduced the requirements. For example, Japan to shorten quarantine for vaccinated travelers. So the Japanese government said on Monday it's going to ease quarantine rules for people vaccinated against COVID-19 starting on October 1st, that's this Friday, and it will be shortening the required period for self-isolating at home from 14 days to 10 days. Once people finish their 10 days of quarantine, they will be able to go outside and wander around Japan. Only shots developed by Pfizer, Moderna, or AstraZeneca are eligible for this. So if you've received the other ones, like Sinovac, you're out of luck. People traveling from any of 45 countries, including Britain, India, and the Philippines, have been required to spend 3 of the 14 days in a government-designated facility, but they will no longer be required to do so. So you'll be able to do your 10 days at home. If you don't have a home, I guess that means at a hotel. So 10 days is still not short, so I'm not sure how much that's going to help Japan. Okay, let's look at issues about when we're going to open up and what's going to happen when we do open up. And so before I talk about when we open up, let's look at some issues around that. So the Badung Tourism Agency has proposed to the central government to reduce the quarantine period for international travelers because, according to the head of the Badung Tourism Agency, Chokorda Raka Darmawan, tourists will get bored if they have to be quarantined for 8 days. And so he's requested that the central government give some leniency on the entry requirements once the border opens in the near future. Does this mean to get rid of the quarantine altogether? Well, not at this point. He proposed that the quarantine period be reduced from 8 days to 2 days. as long as they've tested negatively with a PCR test upon arrival at the airport. And he's noted that the government has appointed 5 different hotels in the Nusa Dua area for quarantine facilities. Okay, I thought there was other ones around as well in Sanur and in Ubud, but I guess not. Well, all right, maybe. We'll check on this as we go along. Right now, it's not that important because we're not open yet. But so he said that there's 5 different hotels in Nusa Dua, not the cheapest place in the world, and he added that international travelers will start to gain access to tourism areas once they've finished their quarantine period and tested negative. Each hotel has a maximum capacity of 200 occupants, and each traveler is mandated to comply with these requirements at their own expense. Tourists that test positive will be required to start treatment at several appointed hospitals in Bali, such as Bali Mandara, Sangla, and Udayana. Good news for those people that don't like the idea of having to quarantine. Once you get here, will the quarantine be required, even the 2-day quarantine? I don't know. It may be thrown out completely. Okay, so I talked about the quarantine and plans, well, hopes that the quarantine period will be reduced or eliminated. And here are 3 plans for opening of Bali for international tourists. And this is the deputy governor. And you remember I talked about this last 2 videos. He had these, he was saying we can't just have one plan. It's not black and white. We have to have 3 separate plans, A, B, and C, in order to adapt to changing conditions. What are they? First plan, Plan A, fully opened. The first plan will be implemented if COVID-19 is considered to be under control. And Bali would be open completely to tourists, not just green zones. The whole island would be open. And wouldn't that be great to have people be able to go where they want to? Because I know a number of you that watch here come up north or live up north. And so you want to see tourism spread out around the island. So if we open with Plan A, that would work. What about Plan B? Plan B would be kind of the original plan to open the 3 green zones. And so this would be something happened or cases COVID-19 in Bali start to go up again. It would not mean that Bali would be immediately closed, but be reduced from Plan A to Plan B, and so people would not be allowed to just travel all over the island. They'd be restricted to the 3 green zones, and that's Ubud, Sanur, and Nusa Dua. And what about Plan C? Well, Plan C is the worst case situation, and if the situation is really bad, the deputy governor emphasized that Bali still be open for foreign tourists, but in this case it would only be in the Nusa Dua tourism area. So the deputy governor said, it's possible that if something happens somewhere later, it does not mean we will close it, we will reduce it, the area, and we will reduce it to the smallest possibility that we've thought about, and that is Nusa Dua. And also, unlike and completely contradicting this other article, so it depends on who you talk to or who's talking to the press on this. Now, I mentioned the 5 quarantine hotels. Well, here, according to the deputy governor, there's 35 quarantine hotels. The 35 hotels would not just be restricted to Nusa Dua like in the other article, but they would be located in the green zones of Ubud, Sanur, and Nusa Dua. The deputy governor commented that there's been no decision on the length of the quarantine. So, we'll just have to wait and see what happens, as I say every video. You're just going to have to wait and see what they're doing here. Things are unrolling depending on who you're talking to. We'll try to make some senses in the wrap-up. Okay, so we've looked at the quarantine and some scenarios for opening. And what about opening? Sandiaga says Bali is ready. So the Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, Pak Sandiaga Uno, said that currently the conditions in Bali are such that we are ready to go through a trial opening of the tourism sector if there are no new obstacles in October. He said that the opening will be discussed at the coordinating meeting coming up. The other day it was announced it was going to be on the 30th. There's no new news about what day it is, but let's say the 30th. That's going to be a day to watch. That's Friday, right? So by Sunday, I should be able to tell you if we're going to be open or not in October. Kind of exciting. So Sandiaga Uno was basing these comments that Bali is ready on his 2-day visit on the 24th and 25th. And during that visit, he assessed the readiness of the industry, especially the tourism sector industry, and also he said community compliance with the implementation of health protocols has increased, and COVID-19 condition in Bali is under control. And with these falling numbers, yeah, could we say it's under control? If it's not completely under control, it's pretty damn close. So he sees all this as an optimistic sign, and he said, this makes us more optimistic. Next week at the coordination meeting, we can provide input so that we can test the reopening of Bali in October. So there's that October date again. And he plans to propose Bali as an island to be able to open Bali up completely. So this seems to be a change from opening just the green zones. Because in this article, it says the entire territory can be opened. But he said, carefully, with caution and vigilance. And so there we are, another October date, and October is only a few days away. Are we going to see the opening of Bali even on a limited basis in sometime in the next month? Could be. If we're going to do it now, it'd be good to do it before the rainy season starts. We're kind of in the rainy season, not in the rainy season. We're on that transition period a little earlier than usual, but I talked about that 3 or 4 videos ago. We've looked at quarantine issues and plans for opening up, 3 separate plans for opening up, and the month of October being talked about as a time to open up. And here's a new one that just came out and it's got me a little puzzled. Preparing to open Bali tourism, provincial government targets tourists from these 4 countries. So the plan is, according to this article, this is another one that says October, the Bali provincial government continues to make a number of preparations, including targeting a number of countries to visit the island of gods. And this is based on recorded length of stay in Bali. This is according to the deputy governor. And so there's 4 countries that he's talking about: the US, the UK, Germany, and Russia. And he said they stay on the average in Bali for 2 weeks. He said the targets for these 4 countries will be adjusted according to the regulations issued by the central government. And he emphasized that he would be more selective in choosing foreign tourists who are allowed to enter Bali. Let's talk about Russia for just a minute. I haven't looked at the other ones. Just Russia came up here on my news feed. And what does this news feed say? This is a story on the CNN online. Russia reported the highest COVID-19 death tolls in a single day on Tuesday, with 852 related deaths in the past 24 hours. The previous high was reported 4 days ago, on September 24th. According to the article, the head of Russia's public health watchdog, Anna Popova, said last week it was hard to determine when cases would slow, with less than 50 million Russians having received a first dose of the vaccine. We have, let us say, 110 115 million adults. Of them, some 47 million have received 1 dose. This is less than half, so we have no grounds to say that infections will stop. Let's bring them in. That sounds like a good plan. And this is from the deputy governor. I'm not sure what the central government thinks about this, or the governor, but as I've said before, we have a lot of people popping up with opinions and plans. Who knows where we're going on this? According to this article, the deputy governor said Bali has become one of the provinces with the highest vaccination achievements in Indonesia, and we know that that's true. But this says the achievement of vaccination in Bali has reached 97% of first dose and 75% of second dose. I'm not sure where they're getting that number, because you remember the numbers that I was talking about earlier when I was talking about the numbers in that segment, way at the start of the video. Not even close to these numbers. I'm not sure where these numbers are coming from. but they don't seem to jibe with the official statistics that are being listed. Also, according to the Vice Governor, there are around 62 COVID-19 referral hospitals and 25 PCR labs with the ability to test more than 4,000 samples a day. Health workers, medicines, and oxygen supplies are also very adequate. The Deputy Governor said that everybody involved in tourism is prepared to open up Bali. More than 2,000 hotels, restaurants, and tourism destinations have received a certificate of cleanliness, health, safety, and environmental sustainability, CHSE, from the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy, and I've mentioned this before. On the basis of all of this, the Deputy Governor says that we're ready to go, and then at the end of the article he mentions the 3 plans, which I've already talked about. It's time for a wrap-up. What do we have? The numbers are looking really good. The vaccination rates are going up. We're up to 58% with second doses, and we're using the government statistics there, not the ones that were talked about by the Vice Governor. There are a number of plans out there. The October date is still being talked about as when we're about to open, and that's in just a couple of days from now. But the October timeline for opening up is holding steady at this point. It's been mentioned by everybody involved in this. All of the ministers and governors, deputy governor are saying, yeah, we're going to do it in October. But there's a variety of different opinions or plans on how we're going to do this. And so which one is going to be the one that works? I don't know. If you remember, I've talked about this earlier today in the last video. There's a meeting supposedly on the 30th, which is tomorrow, to discuss where we're going to go with opening up. And so waiting to see that's going to be a big thing for us. And schools, I've heard that schools are open in Gianyar. Islamic school here, just down the street, has opened up. But the public schools and the private school, where my granddaughter goes, the lab school, still not open, and I've been pestering my daughter to pester my granddaughter's teacher to find out, and the word is I don't know. So waiting on that still, really hoping that that opens up. The other day I talked about the new immigration rules for coming in for the B211s. And just a few minutes ago, I saw this posted on the immigration website. I'm not sure what to make of this. I'm just going to put this out here. It says that for onshore visa applications, people already here in Indonesia, the requirements are statement of letter willing to comply with all applicable health protocols, proof of ownership of health insurance, travel insurance, which includes health financing, and or statement letter willing to pay independently if affected by COVID-19 while in Indonesia, proof of permit, last day for holders of a visit stay permit. Then it adds, there are also questions from the public regarding the column for COVID-19 vaccination certificate in the onshore visa application. In terms of regulations, there is no mandatory vaccination certificate, and currently it is being processed in a systematic way. I'm not sure what that means. Does that mean that if you're here already on a B211, you are not going to be required to show proof of vaccination? That would be a good thing for the people that are here that haven't been able to get it, but would like to. So, as I've said many times, things change all the time here. This is, it's like a river, or like the ocean outside in front of my house. And that's it for today. I'm trying to keep this relatively short. Positive, yeah. Feeling really positive and waiting to see what is going to happen tomorrow with this meeting and about Bali opening up in October and how that's going to work if, in fact, we do open up in October. And then on Monday, the PPKM expires and what's going to happen with that. So a lot of stuff to look forward to. And as always, thanks for viewing. Thanks for thumbs up if you think this is helpful. And I've just learned how to make a little subscribe thing. And so you may have seen that here. I'm just testing it out to see how it works. Okay, and stay safe. Be kind to someone today. Follow the protocols. And if you want to come to Bali, hang in there. Looks like we're getting close. See you on Sunday.